So, as a former financial advisor, I love to geek out on money apps and AI to help make money management easier for you. I've tested dozens of AI tools and money apps over the last year, and five of them have really stood out for me. And today I'm going to share the 5 AI tools that will help you to make better financial decisions. So the first tool is Claude. My husband jokes and thinks that this is my second husband. I use it so much, and I use it all the way through from money management to helping me to run a business. And Claude, if you haven't heard of it, is an AI created by a company called Anthropic, and a little bit like ChatGPT, but it was specifically designed to be more thoughtful, more nuanced. And I think it's actually quite important when it comes to matters connected to money, especially if you are worried about ethically using AI. I certainly am. And so Claude is one of my favorites. So how can you use Claude to have a better relationship with money and to help you to manage money better? Well, the first thing that I would suggest that you do is to use Claude to become almost your behavioral money therapist or your trend spotter. So one of the things that I talk a lot about on this show is about not just the practical side of money and how to be better at that, but also how to be better with money. And that often comes down to our relationship with it. So one of the things that you can do is to download your bank statement. You can do this for the last 30 days. You could do this for the last 12 months if you're feeling eager to understand some trends and habits. And the important thing when you're using AI is not to give it personal data. So the first thing that I would be doing is to download your bank statements and to remove your name, bank account details, address details, anything from that statement that would identify it as you, because you don't necessarily want to be sharing that in your AI project. And once you've done that, you can share that with Claude and ask it, what patterns do you notice in my spending? Now, not from a place of judgment. And I would really recommend that you do some somatic emotional regulation before you look at the results. So one of the things that I love to do is to dance around my kitchen like a crazy woman to some great music. I love for my nervous system to just feel ready and at ease, not so that I'm not making these insights or reading these insights from a place of judgment and shame and guilt, but I'm actually just fully in a place of awareness and feeling regulated to actually understand my patterns. So I might do a little bit of heart breathing and just really center myself into this is safe for me to look at this information. And there's some really interesting questions that I want you to start using with Claude. You can do this also with ChatGPT, but I really love the depth of Claude's conversations. And these are the questions, and feel free to grab a notepad. You might want to write these down. And I would ask questions such as, what trends? And these are questions to ask of yourself, by the way. So the answers to these questions are what you're going to want to tell Claude. Okay, so what trends matter the most to you? So when you're asking Claude to identify trends, give it a bit more information. Are you looking for revenue trends? Are you looking for unconscious spending habits? Are you looking for expense creeps, lifestyle creeps? Are you looking for perhaps spending on certain days of the week? It could be, for example, that Claude will notice that you're spending more on food on a Friday. And there may be a reason for that. It may be that you do your food shop on a Friday, or it might be that you're wanting to treat yourself on a Friday and perhaps be a bit more impulsive on a Friday. It might be you've been particularly stressed on a Friday at work, end of the week, you're tired, all those things. So what are the trends that matter the most to you? Do you want it to try and identify unused subscriptions, potentially, or spending patterns over the months of the year. It might be that you can identify you spend perhaps more on certain categories in the summer months than you might do in the winter months. So when you're asking that question, identify some trends, think about the trends that matter most for you. The second thing is to think about the format that your statements are in. Think about the time frame that you're wanting Claude to analyze your transactions over. So do you want it to do the last 3 months, 6 months, a year? You might want to start small and just do the last 30 days. But the more information you can give it, the better the results you're going to create. So this is a great time of the year to download your last 12 months of bank statements and actually get it to look at trends across that year period. And think about, do you want to share business statements as well as your personal statements? If you're a sole trader or a limited company, it's just you in the business. You are your business from a financial perspective. So understanding how your business finances relates to your personal finances can also be super helpful. I often find when I'm working with people that they're either really, really great on business finances and not so aware of personal finances, or the other way around. So perhaps combine the data and the trends that you're seeing from both business and from personal. And that might include credit card spending. It might include spending from joint accounts as well as from sole accounts. But think about what you're inputting into Claude and think about when it provides you with information, what output is going to help you the most. So for example, do you want it in a visual chart format? Do you want it in categorized lists? Do you want that information in a narrative summary? Do you want it as an action list? Really think about that, because you can tell Claude, give this to me in a visual chart, give this to me in a categorized list or with short action steps. And that will make sure that the way that it is giving output to you is going to be something that is actually going to work for you personally. I love things to be very visual because visual cues, for me, I always remember them better. It helps me to feel less overwhelmed than just getting loads of information that I've then got to read on a screen. And there are some more tools I'm going to share with you in a moment that might also help you if you're very auditory in your output responses. So I'll share that with you in a moment. Also think about any specific categories that you want to have flagged. So do you know that maybe you might have some subscriptions that you're not really aware of? Do you want it to highlight, for example, any expenses in your business statements that could be tax deductible for your business? You could say to Claude, I am a UK limited company. Help me to identify any tax deductible expenses and tell me why these would be tax deductible, so you can actually understand the reasons. So those are a couple of little examples that I want you to start thinking about. And these inform what we call a prompt. And the prompt is, what are you telling AI? What are you telling it? What are you sharing with it? Because the better the information you're giving it and the better the prompt, the better the outputs you're going to receive on the other side. So the prompts that I might go into Claude and type might be how to analyze my statements, help me to analyze these, look for these trends, present these findings in a way that is visual for my brain, ask me further questions about my relationship with money, and tie these insights back into my goals. My goals are, and then I would go on to explain those. So that's an example of a prompt that you might then use with Claude. Now, another idea, something that I've played around with my Claude AI tool, is to use it to help you to make money decisions. So, for example, should I buy this LED face mask? Should I invest in this fund? And whilst AI is not a regulated financial advisor, it can give you questions and information that will help you to get curious to that decision. Should I take this pay rise? Should I invest in this course? You know, it's giving Claude context and information and asking it to ask you questions back to enable you to go deeper into exploring options. And one of the best questions you can use here is, tell me what I'm not seeing in this decision-making process. What am I missing? And that's a great way as well of having a conversation with Claude and getting it to identify what you might be missing in your considerations. And then the third thing you could use Claude for, before I go on to the next money AI tool, is you could actually ask Claude to create you a personalized money affirmation or what I call a safety statement based on your specific money story. And what I would suggest here is to actually have Claude on your mobile phone, because on the mobile phone version of Claude, you've got a little microphone button. And on this microphone button, you can literally click this and just start sharing more about your story. That could be on your dog walk, while you're putting the kettle on, and just share more about my earliest relationship with money. This is what I learned about money growing up. This is what I observed. This is how it's potentially showing up for me in how I think and feel about money. And what Claude can do is listen to the language that you are sharing in that story. And it can help you to reframe your language. It can help you to identify any particular beliefs that you might be holding on to that are not serving you. And it can help you then to assist in writing an affirmation or a safety statement. It is safe for me to make more money than my mum. It is safe for me to be the highest earning person in my friendship circle. It is safe for me to ask for more money at work. And it is safe for me to save more money. These are examples of safety statements. Affirmations are in the kind of I am, I am a money magnet. And so Claude is really great for listening to language cues, going quite deep actually in the conversations around money stories. So I would definitely use Claude for that purpose as well. Now, the second tool that I wanted to introduce you to is ChatGPT. And ChatGPT and Claude are quite different in their responses. And I would recommend that you have a play around with both of these tools. You can have the free version of both of these AI tools, or you can go onto the paid versions. I personally paid for both of them for a period of time, tested both of them, and then chose the one that was working for me the best in different situations. But for ChatGPT, I use this a lot in assisting me really to better communicate, or if I'm stuck with something, then ChatGPT is faster and quite a lot more versatile than Claude currently, although they're always evolving. And ChatGPT is the AI assistant that was created by OpenAI. It's the one that went viral back in 2022, and it kind of started off the whole AI revolution. It's probably the one that you may be using the most yourself already. Deep therapeutic work or deep questioning, I prefer Claude, but for communication and getting things done quite quickly, then I like ChatGPT. How do you use ChatGPT for money? So here's how you can use it specifically for money aspects. The first thing is that when you're overwhelmed by any financial task, ask ChatGPT to break it down. So, for example, you might say, I need to sort out my pension. I'm completely overwhelmed. I don't know where to get started. Break this into the smallest possible steps. And then you can go into some financial education about pensions. You might even want to upload your pension statement, again, removing any personal data from it, and ask it to explain in plain English, what does this pension jargon mean? It's really useful. I used ChatGPT recently with a client who was trying to work out the pension contributions that she could maximize from her business to utilize her annual allowances, given that she'd had employed periods in the last 3 years and self-employed periods. She was trying to work out how much she could use her carry back and carry forward around pension contributions. And it was brilliant. We had to double check the calculations, of course. And as a pension transfer specialist, I was able to do that. But I think for her, it was really helpful to actually understand what her options were. So that's a great way to use ChatGPT to understand things that are just generally overwhelming you around money. The second way you could use it is to draft difficult money conversations. You can ask ChatGPT for help with things like, I need to ask my partner to contribute more to household expenses. Help me to write this in a way that's honest and not accusatory. Help me to navigate this conversation with them. And it is great for drafting. You probably wouldn't send an email to your partner about this, but if you were having to communicate a pay rise conversation, or you wanted to increase your rates in business and you weren't sure how to communicate that to your clients, you could use ChatGPT to help you to draft an email to communicate the value that you're providing and let them know of your price increase. I used this a couple of years ago when I very first started using ChatGPT with an accountant that was in our financial coach community. She hadn't increased her prices for 4 years, and we used ChatGPT to help to draft an email that she sent to 103 clients that she was managing. And one client said, "Thank you very much, but you're too expensive. I'm going to go find somebody else." And it was the one client that actually caused her the most headache. So she was really confidently able to explain to her clients in a much easier way than it was for her to try and write that herself. So that's the second way that you can use ChatGPT around money. The third way is when you're stuck on a money decision, you can use it to generate options. So for example, you could say to ChatGPT, I've got £500 to put towards debts or savings. Give me 5 different strategies with pros and cons for each method. And again, it's great for providing you with maybe looking at strategies between the snowball method of paying down debts or considerations of your tax position, or asking you questions about, well, what is this £500 for? And what do you already have in savings? It will ask you questions to further clarify how you could actually make some good financial decisions there. And if you're neurodivergent, ChatGPT can be your external kind of executive functioning brain. It really is exceptional for breaking things down into small steps, breaking things down so you can understand them, turning things into visual images. Maybe you have a pension statement and you want ChatGPT to visualize for you what this actually means for income in retirement. So it's really, really great for very fast, quite strategic based questions. And I would start with the free version on these tools. I would say at some point you will want to move to the paid versions if you are looking to use it on a more regular basis. But the free version is honestly quite enough for most people. If it's something you want to use ongoingly, then perhaps you want to upgrade to the $20 a month that it currently is for these tools. Right. Tool number 3 is Perplexity. Now, Perplexity is my financial research assistant, and I use Perplexity a lot if I am being interviewed by a financial journalist and I may be doing some research on statistics. And I want to be sure that that research is backed by research that is reliable. Very often, if you're using ChatGPT or Claude and you ask it for information, it will quote, research says this, but actually, when you ask it for the research, it says, oh, actually, no, this isn't research. This is just my interpretation. And so whenever I'm using research as a professional or an expert, I always use Perplexity to validate any research statistics. It's also great, though, for knowledge. So because Perplexity is an AI-powered search engine, it gives you answers directly from the sources. So if you think of it like Google meets ChatGPT, it cites information and gives you the source of where that information comes from. Now, why does this matter for money? Well, when you're making financial decisions, you need accurate information. This is key. If ChatGPT or Claude is giving you information, go and verify that with Perplexity because you need factual information. For example, if you're asking it to calculate how much you can add into a pension, then it may not be up to date with pension annual allowance rules. So it's always worth checking that data with Perplexity. Now, I would say from a a perspective of how do you use Perplexity, I would think about things like when we have budget changes, you can go into Perplexity and ask it for an explanation of changes to the ISA rules or updates to pension regulations or new research on money psychology or economic trends that might be affecting me. And I think before Perplexity, this often you'd have to go into Google, you'd have to research often for a long time on government sites, news articles, research papers, HMRC. And so now you can go into Perplexity and just ask it, give it the answers. It will give you the answers with links to HMRC or the financial news or official guidance all in one place. So it's super, super useful. So before you make any major financial decisions, fact check it with Perplexity. Ask it, what do financial experts say about this product? Give me the sources. When you're hearing conflicting money advice, maybe you've had a conversation with your friend down the pub and one friend is telling you one thing and one is telling you another. Ask Perplexity to break down the debate. You know, this friend says, pay off my debt first. This friend is saying, invest the money first. What does this research tell me? You know, give me some research. What does current research say about this debate? And you can also use it to understand your rights. So, for example, what are my consumer rights if a company overcharges me? It will pull from resources like Citizens Advice, Which, or legal sources. So that would be how I would use the third tool of Perplexity. And again, I would start with the free version, and the pro version, which is around $16 a month, will give you more searches per day and access to more advanced AI models. But in all honesty, if you're using it once or twice a month, the free version is absolutely fine. Okay, the fourth tool then is Notebook LMM. Oh, Notebook LMM is Google's AI tool, and it turns documents, things like research papers, PDFs of books, into audio version. So let's say, for example, you have a PDF of a personal finance book that you've been reading, or maybe you have a PDF of a research paper. And the thought of reading it, especially online, if you're anything like me, like to have it printed out, you could actually turn it into an audio, turn it into a podcast. And it's so funny because the voices on Notebook LMN, you can choose the voices, but it's just hilarious when you might take a research paper on, I don't know, menopause, for example. It's just hilarious. Honestly, you have to have a play around with it. It's hilarious at how the voice dictation is on some of the projects. So, you know, if you are reading books or you have a PDF, maybe it's even a work document that's been sent to you on email and you've got to read it before 9 a.m. the following day, you know, upload it into Notebook LMM and it will turn it into a podcast. Then you can just listen to that on your drive. And I think this is important because not everybody processes information well by reading. Some of us need to hear things. Some of us can absorb quite complex ideas whilst we're walking the dog or doing the washing up, but we can't sit still and read a 50-page document. There are definitely times, being neurodivergent myself, that I struggle to sit and rest and read. So a lot of traditional financial education assumes that you're going to read these 20-page articles or government guidance documents. But if you have ADHD, if you're dyslexic, if visual processing issues are for you, or you're just an auditory learner, then that can be a big barrier to financial education. So Notebook LMM removes that barrier, and I use it a lot for researching. If I'm researching a topic I want to talk about on the podcast and I found a research paper, I do love to geek out on the science and research. So I'll put it through Notebook LMM. I'll listen to that on my dog walk, and then I'm prepared and ready to record my episode. So have a little play around with that. I think it's a great way to consume information more quickly, and especially given that we all live very busy lives, it's really, really helpful for that in particular. So What else can you use Notebook LMM for? Definitely financial books would be a suggestion. Definitely long, boring documents, maybe your mortgage statements, pension statements. Insurance policies is a great one as well. Upload those to Notebook LMM and ask it to explain them to you in English in conversation. And honestly, you'll be really surprised how engaging they can make very boring documents. Things like, if you're learning how to invest, I feel like I'm doing myself out of a job by recommending this, but no, honestly, that I really believe that the more financial education you can receive, the better resource you can be with money. So definitely have a look at those things. And you can head over to, again, the free version of Notebook LMM. I'll pop all the links to these apps and AI tools into the show notes below this video or podcast. And then the final tool that I wanted to share with you is one that was introduced to me about 2 years ago by a client of mine. And actually a few clients of mine have, over the last 2 years, been telling me how useful they found this particular tool. And I actually used it myself last year when I was testing. And it's called Snoop. And Snoop is only available to people in the UK. It's an AI-powered money management app that connects to your bank account through open banking. And it's able to give you insights into things like your spending habits, your bills, and your subscriptions. And it specifically looks for ways that you might be being overcharged or taken advantage of, which I really like about Snoop. And when I first connected Snoop to my account, it immediately flagged up that I was paying for 2 Amazon Prime accounts on 2 different cards. I'd completely forgotten that I had the second subscription. It also identified I had 2 subscriptions for one of my children's gaming hubs. And I was frustrated with myself because I was like, I'm really great at spotting these things. And I actually hadn't spotted this. So I was like, damn you, money app. And it was super helpful. Yeah, that was about 95 quid back in my pocket from 5 minutes of a quick setup. So I think it is great for that. It's also great for identifying potential money saving tips for things like mobile phone contracts or energy providers. And it doesn't, when you give Snoop permission on your bank account through open banking, it is the same secure system that your bank uses. So it's FCA regulated, which means it's held to the same security standards as your actual bank itself. And you're giving it read-only access. It can't transact on your behalf. And so it will help you to automatically categorize your spending, groceries, bills, entertainment, those things. You can see where your money is going each month, which is super helpful. And it will track your bills and subscriptions. So if a company increases its price on your subscription, Snoop will alert you straight away on the platform, which I think is great. And it sends you these like daily Snoops, which are little personalized insights. Like, you've spent £120 on takeaways this month, which is 40% more than last month. And you're like, oh, okay, I best, keep an eye on that. It also does suggest switches based on your spending. You might benefit by switching to this provider and save £150. So it is great. And I think from a financial trauma perspective, one of the biggest drains on our bodies and our stress levels around money is the kind of constant anxiety of, am I being ripped off? Have I forgotten to do something? And we start to blame ourselves. And that hypervigilance can be really quite exhausting. So I think anything that helps you to monitor things for you and takes over that vigilance for you is very, very helpful. So I'll pop a link below this video or episode. You can go and have a little snoop of Snoop's money app. And the final thing I wanted to share with you as well around these apps and tools is that honestly, for most people, there are so many easy ways that you can automate money decisions, make it easier for you and less overwhelming. And so what I want you to do after listening to this is to just pick one tool from the 5 that I've shared, not all of them, just one of them. What is the one that made you think, oh, that could be actually quite helpful. And just give yourself a week to explore it. No pressure to master it in a week. Just have a little play around and notice the shifts. Does your financial anxiety reduce? Does a task feel less overwhelming? Do you catch yourself avoiding your finances less often? I think all 5 of these tools are linked beautifully into how we can further develop our relationship with money and learn some of the practical aspects of money as well. So consider Claude for more of that kind of therapeutic processing and dialogue, ChatGPT for quite quick responses, helping you to support some financial decisions that you're trying to make, Perplexity for your research and checking on things that the other tools may have told you, Notebook LMM for turning documents into audios or podcasts, and then Snoop for monitoring your bills, your spending habits, and insights into saving a little bit more money. And I've linked all of these things into the link below, as well as an AI course that I also completed last year, which really helped me to learn how to use all of the AI tools ethically and to streamline my business. And you've been maybe hearing me talk about how I've been streamlining my business by using AI. And this is the course that I actually did and completed to help to support me with that. And full transparency, I am an affiliate for this particular course. There's not many courses or programs that I would recommend, but this is definitely one of them that really helped me to understand how to use AI in my life and in my business. And I can honestly say it's been the best investment I've made in a long time. And I think AI tools are just one small way that can give us back more time, that can help us to create a bit more emotional ease in our lives. So go and have a little play. If this episode was helpful, leave a comment below if you're watching this on video and tell me which tool you're going to go and try. And make sure you're subscribed to our newsletter where I share monthly AI prompts that you can use to get ahead with money. That's at katherinemorgan.com/newsletter. Make sure you don't miss any future episodes, and I will see you again next Monday. Thanks for listening, guys.